Hello, welcome back to My Hot Kitchen. I'm Wendy, and we are back with a delicious turkey dinner for you and your sweetie to enjoy on a romantic date night at home. Tonight's dinner is going to be turkey schnitzel with a roast portobello white wine reduction. We're going to serve it with a warm German-style potato salad and some really fun baby stuffed peppers. So let's get started by roasting those portobello mushrooms first. So I have two nice big portobello mushrooms, and you'll notice that I've removed the gills from one, and I'm going to demonstrate that with this one here. Now I'm removing the gills mostly because of the texture and a little bit because of the flavor. The gills are rather earthy in flavor, and I feel like it overpowers the sort of delicate maritage of flavors going on in the schnitzel. So I'm just using a spoon, and I'm not getting too fussy with it. I'm just getting most of the gills out. The next part is to love them up with olive oil, salt, and pepper. You want to make sure that you sufficiently love them up because the mushrooms dry up really easily in the oven, and nobody likes a dry mushroom. Well, there's a time and place for dry mushrooms, but it isn't with this menu. So I'm going to start with a nice dousing of olive oil and a generous sprinkle of salt, and of course a nice crunch of black pepper. And then I'm just going to use my hands and rub it across the surface. And if I don't feel like there's enough oil on there, there isn't. Now the thing with mushrooms is they're like little sponges. They just absorb the flavor like crazy. And they also absorb olive oil like mad. So, even though I put a whole bunch on first, it wasn't enough. There we go. Should be nice and shiny. So get the caps and then flip them over and repeat on the other side. Nice little drizzle inside of each one. There's still quite a bit of salt and pepper on my fingers, so I'm going to trust that I have enough. And it's okay if they get a little tore up on the edges because they're just going to be chopped up anyway. Great. A little more salt, a little more pepper. And these babies are ready to go in the oven. Now I'm going to flip them over so they're capped side up before I put them in because that's where most of the oil is. And I've got my oven set at 350 degrees. They're probably going to take about 15 or 20 minutes, but we'll check on them in about 10. So here we have our baby stuffed peppers, and we're basically going to be filling them with a real simple filling of carrot, ricotta cheese, onion, and garlic. And it's so tasty. But in order to stuff them, you're going to have to cut them open. So I've already got most of them done, as you can see. And the beauty of these little stuffed peppers is they don't have to be perfectly clean. You just want to get most of the stuff out. So to do that, you just take the tip of a knife and you go in from the stem to the tip and you slice it down the side. Oh, there we go. And then you just pop it open, kind of squeeze the tip and the stem together, and yeah, it's going to open up, rip open a little bit more. That's just fine. And you just want to pull out the core. And I like to use the handle of a small spoon to scrape out the seeds. And in a small pepper like this, most of the seeds are going to be at the top near the stem. And then I just turn it over and tap it out. And that gets most everything out. And the reason that you want to pull the core and stems out is because texture and flavor. The flavor of the core is not off, but the flavor of the seeds can be a little bit on the bitter side. So they are good to get out of there. Now, if a few of them want to hang around and be a part of the pepper, that's fine. The most important thing is to maintain the integrity of the shape. So to make the filling, you want to have a small food processor, and to that add approximately 1/4 cup of ricotta cheese. I favor the whole milk ricotta over the part skim ricotta. About 1/8 of an onion, a couple cloves of garlic, 1/4 teaspoon of salt, and then approximately 1 carrot. Now let's talk about the carrots for a second because not everybody's going to have a small food processor, and I totally understand that. So you can use a fine grater and grate them down to that consistency and get a really good effect out of it. It is a little better to process them, but hey, if you don't have a processor, use what you got. So you'll notice that I've chopped them down a little bit, and that's to aid them in their breakdown process. And we're just going to put it all in there and pulse it. And when it gets hung up on the edges, we'll just go ahead and take a soft spatula, go around the outside and kind of free it up. Looks like the ricotta is holding up the works there. take a look here, see what we got. So after pulsing and processing, you're looking for a consistency like that. Still little chunks of carrots, nothing too big, nothing too small. It should still have some texture to it. So that is ready to go. I'm gonna pull it out of the food processor and start stuffing it in my peppers. I'm just gonna use my nice little teaspoon here. Spoons are such a lovely tool. And I'm just gonna put a couple spoonfuls here in the pepper, kind of smooth it out. And that's how we do that. So I'm just down to my last pepper here. Now these little baby peppers are found in the produce section. They're usually sold in little 2-pound bags, and they are awesome for cooking for 2. The reason being that they're already small, so you know those recipes where you don't need a whole pepper? These are awesome for that. Plus they make really cute little stuffed peppers. So once they're all stuffed, I'm just going to pop them in the oven. They're gonna roast at 350 degrees. And actually, as we open up the oven, we need to take a look at our portobello mushrooms. Let's see how these little guys are doing here. All right, I'm just gonna poke at them. Yes, they're hot. I'm just poking quickly. And I can feel that they're softened up quite a bit. They're starting to shrink, so I'm actually gonna go ahead and pull them out at this point. Set them off to the side, and then we're gonna bring in the peppers. And we're gonna roast these at 350 degrees for about 20 minutes or so. So the next part of this event is pounding out the meat. So I've got a couple of turkey cutlets, 4 turkey cutlets here. And if you want to know how to make turkey cutlets, just check my website. I've got a nice little tutorial on how to do it. The basic premise of schnitzel is that you pound out lean meat, you bread it, you fry it in butter, and you top it with a yummy sauce. So to pound it out, you place it between 2 sheets of plastic wrap to contain the juices, and then you can use a meat mallet or a rolling pin or something similar and just lightly pound out the meat to a nice even thickness. You don't have to go too crazy here because turkey's really soft, so it pounds out easily. And then once you have it pounded out, just pull off the top layer of plastic wrap here. And dredge these guys in flour. And then we're going to put them in a saute pan filled with bubbling butter. There we go. I have a couple tablespoons worth of butter in there. And you see how it's bubbling. It's not too fierce, it's not too loud, and it's not too soft. That's just right. You want the butter to remain golden to get the best color and the best texture. And of course the best flavor. And the flour does a few things. It gives the meat a little texture, and it also adds a little thickening sauce, a little thickeningness to the to the reduction. And those are probably going to need to sear for about 5 minutes or so. Do it over medium-low heat. Give the pan a little agitation so the butter coats every single little nook and cranny, and then let it roll. Next part is to work on the warm German style potato salad, and the first step with that is to boil off the potatoes. So you add them to hot boiling water, add a generous amount of salt. I'm using real sea salt here so it cakes up a little bit. Quite a bit, because this is your one opportunity to properly season the potatoes. And then you have a couple minutes here to get things cleaned up and get ready to cut the mushrooms next. So this part's real easy. I'm going to start by trimming off the excess stem because it's just kind of rubbery and in the way. You can leave it on if you like, there's nothing wrong with it. It's just my personal preference. And then I'm just going to slice them about 1/4 inch thick. By this time, they should have cooled down enough to handle. They'll still be pretty warm, and that's exactly where you want them. It's a nice, easy meal to make. It flows together, and it times out very nicely. And we're just going to leave those right there for now. Come back over here and check on our potatoes. So I just want to reach in there and grab a potato. They're kind of elusive, and you either want to see the fork go through it or feel it be softened, but you don't want it to be mushy. Okay, so those are just at the point where I want to see them. So I'm going to pull them off the heat. And before I go to drain them, I'm going to add a half cup of cranberry juice to this pan. And I'm holding this pan up back here because my heat's gotten a little high. And to the cranberry juice, we're going to add a shallot, which I've already sliced. And a shallot is a nice little mild cousin of the onion. And we're going to put it in here and just let it boil off. The cranberry juice is going to reduce, concentrate, and also pickle the shallots for us. So now let's go back to these potatoes. And we want to keep them hot. The good thing is potatoes hold their heat. So you're going to drain it off and just hold them off to the side for a little bit. Now a note on the potatoes, we're using waxy potatoes, red potatoes, because they hold their shape better. Russet potatoes or mealy potatoes tend to fall apart in a potato salad. So now let's take a look at our schnitzel and see how that color is developing. That is a nice color right there. Nice golden brown, caramelized. Goodness, yum. So flip them over when they're at that point. And we're going to let them go until they have a little color on the backside, and then we're going to pull them out. So take a look here at the shallots. You can see that most all of the cranberry juice is cooked off. So that's like pure cranberry flavor going on in there. It's perfect. Those are good to go. I'm just going to pull them off the heat and let them hang out. And then I'm going to use the same pan that I boiled the potatoes in. That's why you see a little residue. And we're going to use that to make the potato salad dressing. We have 1 ounce of red wine vinegar, 1 ounce of nice sweet cream sherry. To that we're going to add a little star anise, about a 1/4 teaspoon of mustard, 1/4 teaspoon of paprika, and a 1/2 teaspoon each of dill and celery salt. And your objective at this phase is just to bring that up to a boil. You just want it to be nice and hot. You want to let that star anise come to life. You want to let the paprika come to life, and just pour it back off. And we'll come back to that when it's time to dress the potato salad. Now the next step is to fry off the onions and the sausage. So I'm using about half of a vice versa sausage. I got this one from New Seasons Market. I'm very excited about it. And we're going to add that and about 1/8 of a chopped up onion together in the pan. And we're going to cook those until the onions become a little bit on the translucent side. Now the pan's kind of dry at the moment, but as the sausage cooks, it's going to render fat and just make this all sorts of lovely. Okay, so we're just going to set that aside and go back to the turkey. And we're just going to pull the turkey cutlets out of the pan here and set them off to the side. This is going to go pretty quick here, so they really won't even have a chance to get cold. Set them over there next to their mushroom friends. And then in the pan that you were sauteing the turkey in, you want to add a couple cloves of chopped up garlic. And just move that around the pan here. Let it collect what's left of the butter. And just saute it for 30 seconds to a minute or until you smell garlic hitting your nose. To that, you want to add about 1/8 of a cup of hazelnuts. I'm using raw hazelnuts that I basically chopped in half, and a little pinch of fresh thyme. And then we're going to reintroduce the mushrooms into the mix. And we're just going to let this cook until it's one big happy family. Keep your heat nice and low, no sense to cook the schnot out of the garnish. And just cook it for a couple minutes or until it becomes very aromatic and delicious smelling. Oh wow, that smells really good. You smell that thyme, honey? Mm-hmm. Yeah, it smells good. You getting hungry, babe?
It all smells good. I'm really hungry.
Awesome. Me too. So come take a look at these onions. You can see that there's been a little fat released from the sausage. We're also getting a nice little sear on the sausage. It's going to be quite tasty. Now let's see. Sausages you could use. You could use an Italian style sausage. You could use one of those artisan like chicken and sun-dried tomato sausages. Or you could go and get a nice homemade sausage from one of the many delicious places in town. Now when we're at that point, we can go ahead and reintroduce the hot dressing mix in. We're going to have to fish out that star anise though. We don't need that in there because it's just going to get too strong. And just let that all simmer together for a couple minutes. And let's go ahead and head back to to our white wine reduction that's gonna go over the schnitzel. Now at this point, everything's been in here for about 2 minutes. And we're just gonna add about 1 ounce of white wine to it. It's gonna bubble, it's gonna make a big fuss out of itself. It's gonna reduce down to a nice quiet simmer. And that is exactly where we wanna see it. So now let's finish off the potato salad. This is ridiculously easy. You wanna add the warm potatoes to the hot dressing and just fold it all together. Now if you're not sure you want all that dressing in there, you could pour the dressing off and fold it in separately, but I think it's really nice just the way it is. So fold gently and watch as the potatoes absorb almost all of it, if not all of it. They're like little sponges, a little bit like their mushroom friends. They just soak it all up. And at this point, I'm going to turn the heat off on that pan, and we're going to give it a little taste and see how we did. The best part of cooking is you get to taste as you go. You can taste all the elements in there, all the spices. The star anise adds a nice little pop of sophisticated flavor. So now let's get those peppers out of the oven. Now these little babies are incredible. Such a simple recipe and just so delicious. You want to pull them out when their skins are all wrinkly, maybe starting to roast a little bit. The next step, friends, is plating. So on this plating, I'm going to start with my starch near the center of the plate. Try to keep it all together. Then we're going to add the turkey, kind of leaning up against it. Go. And then the reduction, and this is the real star of the show here, friends. This mushroom reduction is off the hook. And we're just gonna pile it on top of our turkey. You don't want to lose any of those nuts. You want to get those all on there. Don't leave anything in the pan. We're going to layer a few peppers in around it, kind of frame it in. Hot peppers. Oh yeah, this smells amazing. Then we're going to add those shallots right on top. Pretty little red things. Add that nice little cranberry touch that goes so well with turkey. If you want, you can even get a little fancy and break them up. I kind of like them whole, actually. And then a little sprinkle of fresh thyme on top. Add a little touch of green. So there you go. I've just shared a lovely little meal with you that's fairly inexpensive and delicious to make. And the best part about it is you can actually use leftover turkey. I know a lot of you are going to have leftover turkey coming up real soon. So check it out. You just take some slices of turkey, dredge it just like we did, and you sear it for just a couple minutes. But you want to make sure you get that flour in the reduction sauce so that it thickens up a little bit. If you have any questions about that, feel free to reach out to me through Twitter, Facebook, Google+, or through our website. You know how to get a hold of me. Pair this with a nice sweet white wine, think a Riesling or a Gewürztraminer, and call in your sweetie. Honey, come on, let's eat. Oh, look at you lighting our candles for us.
I know what date night's about.
I know, you're my hungry hubby. Love you too.
This looks delicious.
Kitchen. Are you getting hungry?
I am starving after filming this.
I think you did a nice job filming it. Can't wait to see how it turns out.
Yum.
I can't wait to see how this turned out.
I can't wait to eat this.
Oh yeah. I love turkey.
This is such a hot kitchen.
Hey, so thanks for joining me in my hot kitchen tonight. Have fun turning up the heat in your kitchen, and I'll see you next week. Night night. pet the kitties.